Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of Wicked Unscripted, where we have unscripted conversations about some of the most popular reality shows on television. My name is Abigail Adams. I am your host for this podcast, and I'm finally not sick. Neither of us are sick, finally.
Yay!
Speaking of, joining me today, per usual, is the lovely Sarah Talks. Sarah Talks Big Brother. Today we're talking...
Sarah Talks Traitors today.
Yeah, we're going to talk the first 3 episodes that dropped. We took some time to kind of watch through them, analyze, and now we're dropping this episode right before episode 4 goes. So I'm already thrilled. I'm dying to see what we get in episode 4.
I feel like everybody is, though. They left us on a cliffhanger.
They left us on a cliffhanger on every single episode.
I'm
and they're
really
lucky that they dropped them all at the same time, in my opinion.
Yes. That is a huge show. There's a lot, I'm excited about a lot of things. I'm really liking this cast. I don't know nearly as many people in this cast. Hair in my face. That I did as last season, but I didn't know Suri Fields. I didn't really know her. I had no experience with Suri Fields last season, and this is how I got to experience her for the first time. So I'm okay with that, but they've done a great job of introducing us to everybody, because you are going to have like so many different fandoms watching who haven't seen Big Brother, who haven't seen the chat. Like, Mr. Talks didn't know who Dan was. He's like, who is this guy? And I was like, oh, let me tell you, commercial break. But then, like, my neighbor, I was talking to her about it, and she knew all the housewives and stuff. And so it's bringing a bunch of communities together, and I'm excited about that. But I am really excited about this new format. First being that it wasn't all dropped at one time. We are getting these in doses and getting to not just binge it and like digest it week by week. It makes our job easier to cover it.
So much.
And I like the new recruit aspect. There's a bunch of things that they shook up this season with, and I'm here for all of it. So,
and a lot of the stuff that they're doing is being taken from seasons that are being experimented with outside of the US, it's really great. The whole, like, the franchise is just incredible. I'm really, really, really impressed with, because like new reality shows can oftentimes just come off super stale. Like this is kind of giving Mole, you know what I mean? Like when the Mole became popular, came from overseas. I mean, lots of shows come from overseas, but Big Brother did. But that's what's really I'm really enjoying about this is that aspect. I will say there's a couple people, like not even a couple. I'd just say the only person I have a question mark on right now after 3 episodes is John. Still really not sure why he was cast. I mean
he's already got some drama in the mix, so like I'm here for that. I'm liking the false suspicion. I'm liking the paranoia. I'm liking the asthma gate of it all. So like, yeah. So he gets it. So far, like there really are the only, I would say, and I want to be very clear, I just don't know these people and they haven't given me anything yet.
Right, exactly.
Kevin.
Yes.
And well, I would say Bergie, but then he kind of gave a little, I don't know.
I would go with that for the first 2.5 episodes.
Yeah.
Midway through episode 3, I literally like it's just like the line is drawn and you can see exactly where his storyline is falling into place. And I saw that pretty early when we're talking in episode 1. After the traitors were selected, like Ekin-Su is like talking to him and she's like, so you a traitor? And he's like, no, spilling his drink on himself.
Ekin-Su is stunning.
Oh my God. I mean, we had a lot of stunning ladies on here this year.
Yes, but
oh my Lord.
But yeah, I'm not a Love Island girly. I know nothing about Love Island. I especially know nothing about Love Island UK, but I like her. I like that she's giving Janelle a run for her money. I like her for this show. I mean, I see some petty catty stuff that outside of the game might be red flag material for me. But for this game in particular, like so far, like they won for best casting with season 1. I think they were trying to nail it with season 2 too.
Oh, I think they're going to nail it with or they already have rather. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff we saw before we found out about the Traitors, because as we're getting introduced to people, we're kind of revisiting some of these old relationships. There's a lot of old relationships in the house, like Dan.
Mhm.
Now they played.
And current relationships. So
Yes, lots of current relationships. Well, Dan and Janelle, they haven't seen each other since Big Brother 14, and um, it's a big. I mean, they were two powerhouses entering that game, and it's not necessarily to say that Boogie wasn't. He's written out of Big Brother history at this point. And then Brittany was she was so new. Brittany was
yeah,
just like 2 years out from her first season. So it wasn't that it's not that she's not a badass. It was just
yeah,
those were the two powerhouses walking in, besides the other two powerhouses. But just it was really interesting to see the dynamic grow between them in just the 3 episodes that we saw. I mean, they went right back to the old days, you know what I
yeah,
mean? It was really fun to watch.
yeah. Yes, there was that relationship that came in. I did not watch the Parvati Sandra season, but I absolutely know about it. You can't and I've seen clips, I've seen the things, like it's just one of those things when you're in this world, whether you sat down and watched that season or not, you know about it.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I know about their that was interesting in multiple ways to me because it was my first experience watching them outside of like an edited clip or a produced clip. I mean, I know it was an edited produced, but you know what I mean, like the TikTok like fan clips and stuff like that.
Yes.
Um, Sandra, when she put her hand out and like shook hands, like those are killer eyes. Those are I'm gonna murder you in your sleep, and I'm
Yeah.
just like placating you right now. And then Purdy just felt like this is just my first impression. I was like, "Oh, she petty. She's cutthroat, she petty." Like, but they both are. I don't know. I just feel like we're going to get two very different kinds of villains from them. I'm interested to see if that was all that we're going to see of their drama together, if they're just going to not play into that at all, but
I think what's funny to me is that they both act like they're very different people. They're like, "Yes, we're queens, but we're different." And I'm like, "But they very much play very similar games, even though they are done differently.
yes,
They have their MOs are the same. They might go about things a little bit differently, but ultimately they still kind of don't. Like they're not afraid to confront people if they need to, though I think Sandra is much more confrontational than Parvati. Parvati's
mhm,
definitely more of the sly one where Sandra is not going to be the one to she's going to be one to just say like I'm against you, Russell.
right.
And she's going to be willing to tell you to your face. And it's not that Parvati isn't. Parvati is just she picks and chooses those moments much more carefully. She's much more slick with her moves.
She's more
When she
calculated.
wants but when she wants to, she will dangle that in front of you, and
Yeah.
she will have lots of fun with it. So it is very similar but different.
Well,
It's
speaking
an
of like
interesting dynamic.
similar difference, I heard this phrase about it was Bunny talking about her in Jelly Roll, and it was the first phrase that came to mind. But Parvati and Dan, same person, different font.
Yep. That's such a great way to put it. Even Dan pegged it. He was just like, "We are very similar."
Very similar. Yeah, I and then the other dynamics in the house were that like were interesting to me were like CT and Johnny Bananas. I don't know MTV Challenge. I don't know, but I know CT.
Have you
Um,
seen Banana's Backpack?
I yes, I'm familiar
Okay.
with Bananas.
That's all
Yes,
I mean, I'm not saying that's the only moment, but, like, it's just whenever anybody asks me, "What could you tell me about CT and Bananas?" I'm just like, "Bananas Backpack."
that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
Um,
That's all you need to know. Just insert clip. Oh, but the other actually, for that, the 3rd challenger that's in there that I thought was really interesting is Trishelle.
mhm.
Trishelle already is off to quite a start, but I too am not wildly familiar with their past, so I'm sure the challenge fans that are gonna listen to this are gonna be like banging their heads if first of all, they're going to be banging their heads because we haven't seen it. But if I get any of this history wrong, I do apologize. Please let me know. But like, I went back to kind of find out what the history was, and like one of the last times, if not the last time, she was on the challenge, she quit in part over CT. CT was picking like not just I mean he was always picking fights, right? But like she cut her foot open because he threw glass that broke and she stepped on it. And then she was saying he was being super disrespectful to women in the house. A couple other men were too, but she was saying him in particular. I'm grabbing this all from Showbiz cheat sheet, by the way. So if you guys want to like check my sources, I can't put it on the screen, but there it is. And she also allegedly quit that season because of a verbal altercation with a different castmate, but that she very much has cited, I think it was in 2020 in a podcast, that she was like, yes, he is a large reason why I walked away from that show. And that was Challenge Rivals 2. So I did not know that even watching the first episode. I had to go in and be like, do my little research. And that took me by surprise. I didn't realize that was where the history was. But to be fair, that's kind of how they played off Parvati and Sandra's online drama. Like Parvati and Sandra were like, or Parvati said it. She was like, there's a little bit of a debate between us about who is the queen of Survivor. And I'm like, little debate.
It is the debate.
Little debate. Little is hyperbole to say the least. Is it hyperbole if it's small? I don't know. If it's like hyper small, I don't know. I should know as somebody who works with words for a living. But anyways, anything else you want to talk about relationship wise before we get to this? Because we have some traitors. So the traitors get selected. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, this was done differently than we had traitor selection last season. So traitor selection last season, 3 traitors picked solely by Alan. This year, still 3 traitors, but only 2 of them were selected by Alan. And the 2 traitors that were selected then got to select somebody to recruit, which I love. I love
this. Last season, they just did it about mid-season after they already lost a traitor, one of the initial traitors. We do know going into this one that the cast doesn't know how many there are or how many there were selected off the boot, but we as the viewer do know that he selected the 2 and got to pick one right off the bat. I'm very excited about that aspect. Absolutely, let's just go ahead and say it, like Dan Giesling and Phaedra were chosen as the traitors. There's no doubt in my mind that Dan did not have that written in his contract.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's no way that 1, you have Dan on the show and he's not a traitor. But 2, like there's no way he goes on the show without the guarantee of being one.
Pretty sure we are not even the first people to say that. You and I have discussed it. Other people, like it's just it's like so widely known. Especially in the Big Brother community.
It's not widely known within the house on day 1. They're like, oh, Dan's here, so he's going to be one. There's a given. Like the fact that they don't know this is just shocking to me. But like he plays Among Us on his Twitch channel. Like this is what he does. He was absolutely made for this. Now, Phaedra, I'm paying homage to. I'm wearing my best. For those of you who are watching on YouTube. I'm wearing my best like Traitors blazer and turtleneck moment, but I have these like lashes for Phaedra because I fucking love her. I don't know anything about her outside of the show. I did not watch Real Housewives or anything. I know her voice is like silk. She's like subtly, not trying too hard, funny as shit. And she's here for this. And I love everything about her, but I love the dynamic between her and Dan. And I love those 2 different personality types.
I actually think we would have been robbed if she wasn't a traitor. Like, if we didn't have her as one and she was only playing as a faithful. Like, I'm not saying she wouldn't have been feisty, and I've seen stuff in clips from later in the season. She will certainly have choice words for certain people. And I probably rightfully so, as she tries to defend herself. She was a surprise for me. It's not that I didn't think she'd make a good traitor. I didn't know anything about her like you going into this. So I was like, Interesting. She was one of the people I initially, like, before I made my picks, my preseason picks were Parvati, CT, and Marcus. But CT, I swapped in at the very last second because I was like, nah, he's probably more likely to be than Phaedra. I just don't know if Phaedra can, like, are they gonna really have two reality TV novices? I was only thinking that they were gonna do it the normal way.
Yeah.
So I
I have
overthought
a
there and I
theory,
stuck
and
with my gut.
this might be a little controversial, but like, and we'll it's kind of jumps into, we're grouping all three of these episodes together. But when it comes to Dan and Phaedra, um, I think, well, first of all, I've been watching them, like, even just like the small little clips, like the breakfast room, when they're not really being focused on, but like just little comments, the way that they're voting, the comments that are being made to each other, the way she, asked John when he walked to the breakfast room, who'd you kill, John? Like her demeanor, I feel like she's doing a really, really good job of this. I also feel like Dan is doing a phenomenal job, and there's no better way for him to play it than he's playing it right now with that quiet, reserved, introverted game. My theory here is that there might have been a discussion, or someone might have brought up the fact that the whole world out here is saying there's no way Dan is on this show without being a traitor. There are enough people in this house that know that about him, that conversation might have happened, and the only excuse that they had to make the accusation was that he was too quiet because the show wouldn't let them say otherwise.
Totally.
The
I
show wouldn't say, like, that's not a good look for us if you accuse us of like pre
oh,
predetermining
and
that,
I think
or
if there are any conversations about that, like in terms of game, they're cutting right away. They're like, nah, that's
yes.
not
So
part of the
I feel
storyline.
like if they're like, you need to come up with another reason that you
Right.
suspect him, that would be the only thing he's given him. Because I feel like out of all the things happening in the house and all the people that are playing way too hard for no reason and not playing good at all, I feel like the only way his name has ever was brought up at a round table was because they know what we know and they were told to give another reason. That's my
I
theory.
don't know. I personally will disagree. I think Dan is not playing a good game. I think Dan is he's not playing a bad game though. I'm not saying that, but he is not playing the best game he could. I think he's playing way too quiet. The concern is like when we're going into that second round table in episode 3, they're like, "Dan, what's your opinion? Tell us what you think." And he's like, "I don't I don't have an opinion.
Which,
I don't." And
if
I
I'm like being realistic here, that's exactly what I would do
but Phaedra's doing it
early.
differently,
Huh?
but Phaedra's doing it differently, and she's deflecting by being like, "Oh, yeah." Like, if she's heard the group throw out a name, she's gonna echo the name that she's heard the group throw out. She's not going to do anything new to rock the boat, and so that's where I don't think he's playing it well, because he's sitting here saying, like, "Well, I don't wanna put out anybody's name. I'm a quiet person, and if anybody" to that point, if anybody actually knows Dan, he can't say he's the quiet person because he literally did Dan's funeral the last time. Like,
And he
he's
didn't
too
say, he
manipulative,
said he
and
was
that's not going to
introverted.
fly with
But I
them.
think if you're looking at the whole context, he's not saying I don't want to throw a name out. I'm not.
No, of
It's that we
course.
missed the mark. I feel like y'all's reasonings for accusing these people are thin, and I don't want to be in that realm unless I have something stronger. Which, to be honest with you, if I was playing as a faithful, that's the way I would go about it. Is I wouldn't want to be the person that is making the accusations. I would want to look at accusations and then look at the people accusing and make determinations, and look at by that. But I'm just saying that if it were me, I could see me playing a very similar game. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't disagree with his gameplay here.
Yeah,
He's not flat out saying like, "Oh, don't look at me, I'm not saying names." He like quantified that by saying the reasons y'all are giving aren't aren't good enough. Like, that's not
that's
solid
not
evidence.
necessarily his argument, though. His argument is that he's a quiet person. He
No,
in
that was his
court he had
argument for him not talking to her.
no, that's his argument for the whole thing. He when they were in the library, there was a large group of people, and they were just like Max had just walked in, and they
Mhm.
were like, "Oh, Max is shady," and they're like, they didn't even say anything about Max. in the cut, they just looked at Dan and they were like, Dan, who are you thinking? Do you have any names? They didn't even say name a traitor. They're like, any ideas? Just like bounce something off. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And the other concern I have is because Marcus immediately after the first round table was like, Dan, you didn't say anything. Why did you not say anything? And he's like, well, I'm a quiet person. He goes, well, yeah, but the people that I'm going to be concerned about are the people who aren't saying anything, because if the traitors are happy with something that's going on and a faithful's going, then why, like, they're not speaking up, they're getting their way, so that makes me suspicious. So that's where it's like, I'm not saying, like, he does need to play a quiet game, so not denying that. He's playing too quiet in my opinion, because by not even risking throwing out any names, he's drawing so much suspicion. My last point is that, like, when we were in they are already suspicious of him, because in the second challenge when they were running and doing the questions, it was who is too quiet, and it was pretty easy that people picked him out as the person who was too quiet. So I'm not saying that he can't turn this around, but I worry that he has tanked himself by not being a little more assertive. And just say, even just like if he heard, like, Max walked in the room and the group was like, oh, Max, maybe Max, could have just thrown Max's name out and been like, yeah, I mean, you guys
Max
mentioned
got
Max.
assertive, and look what happened to it. Like, we'll get into that too.
Well,
But
but
I'm just
Max
saying,
was like firm, and he was like, no, I know these things. And he was very strong in his opinions. Whereas if Dan was just kind of loosey goosey, being like, well, I like the idea. You guys make good points. I can totally see that. So therefore, it would be a little bit easier, I think, for him to hide. But that is me getting off my pedestal. That is how I feel. Because, like, I worry. I want Dan to do really well in this, and I worry he is not on the right path, because
I
he
think
got
he's
2
gonna.
votes at the last round
I
table.
feel like he'll be fine.
I hope.
There was some drama at the initial pick round table.
That was
It
fun.
was weird though.
It was
So
hilarious.
Alan does his circles around the table, and a couple things, like, one, Janelle, like, girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is the moment you picked for this, but it's so on brand.
Oh,
So
totally. Her and
Janelle, but
Larsa, totally
she
on brand
turns
for
to
both.
John, the politician. She's like, you were having some breathing. You were breathing really heavy. Now, asking him about it and having people around to, like, hear his reaction, to maybe use it later, but I feel like it was too soon to, like, jump on the attack for
Totally.
that. And then Larsa with her, like, alleged supersonic hearing.
I have really good hearing, guys.
I have really good hearing. I could hear a pin drop, and I heard Alan's sleeve go up right to my left as Parvati is sitting right there. And she's like, and at this moment, Parvati is not a traitor. So she's like, what the fuck? Like, it was
So
a
funny.
choice. Like, I just feel like you
So
don't,
funny.
especially night one, you don't know these people.
Those were
And
the 2 big things that stood out too. Like, Bananas was just like, she's a traitor, to like play off of that. Like,
yeah,
he loves to get that amped up. So like everybody was buzzing coming out of that, which is, that's really what you want coming out of, like, we didn't really get much in season 1. Like, they just kind of came out being like, that was
weird.
weird.
Can I just say that I've said this on TikTok in my lives over and over. My crush for Johnny Bananas just keeps growing and growing and growing. I have the biggest schoolgirl crush
Oh
now.
my god.
Like, I know. What the
So
fuck's wrong
funny.
with me? But I think Mr. Talks has a crush too. Like, he was so excited to see him because he knows him now from House of Villains. Um, and he's watched the challenge and stuff too. So, like, Mark's become a Bananas fan.
That's what she said.
But he's pure entertainment.
Oh yeah.
He lightens the mood everywhere, and his jokes are really funny. And so, like, I just put him on all the shows, please. That's fine.
People like him and Janelle are really great casting choices because they're so witty. They're not afraid. They're not like the most witty people in the world, but they are fast. They are quick. They are the kind of people too that they're not afraid to pick a fight. They're not
Yeah.
afraid to have some beef. They're not afraid to call somebody out. They're not afraid to be loud. They're not afraid to stir the pot. And that's what you love. And you can get that in
Or
people
to
like
give the host a run for their money.
literally. Like, oh my god. Which or what did he say? He was like, hey, Alan, how's it feel to be the second best dressed in the room? And Alan's
Yeah.
like, back off, bitch.
Yeah. I
Great.
loved it.
Absolutely lived
Now,
it.
who, I can't remember because this came up to mind too. Who was Larza? I'm not Larza. Who was Phaedra schooling in the breakfast room?
CT. And poor
It was
CT. I'm
CT.
like, CT, how do you not know these things? How do you not know about the drama about Larsa and Marcus and how they came
And then
together?
Janelle was
Like,
telling Kevin, like, oh, he's on the challenge. He goes, what's challenge? She was like, the challenge. The show, the challenge. Oh, that's like a show. Okay. And then Phaedra thinks that everybody on Survivor is running around naked, hiking naked,
like,
and
no,
eating
that's Naked and
snakes.
Afraid, sweetheart. Different show. Produced by a lot
Girl,
of the same
they eat
people.
snakes and they hike naked. Ooh, like
Or not the same people, but a lot of people who have produced Survivor have either gone on to work there or whatnot. I know a couple people.
oh, she's a treat. But
So he has been really, really, really fun to watch. I'm thrilled with that casting choice. I mean, I'm really thrilled with all of it. And we have a
I'll
little
tell you what I'm
casting
not
news.
thrilled about.
We
Though.
have some casting news that will not drop. It's already available, but we'll discuss it at the end of the episode. But yeah, so before Dan and Phaedra are gonna go pick their third traitor, we have to go to the first challenge. Not really much to talk about here, except for I definitely don't believe for a second that they actually like. There's no way. I'm sorry, but I feel like there's no way they actually finished with like 1 second. They were like detonate.
Oh no.
Like that's just such.
No.
Okay. So they had to do a puzzle. They started all tied up, and once they got untied, half the people went on the lake to go gather puzzle pieces, while a bunch of other people went to go find the puzzle, what the puzzle's supposed to look like in a bottle.
But see, here's the thing. Half of them were saying before and during, if you get free, go get it. If you get free, go get it. And the other one's like, no, help us out untie. So it was half and half. And the way Janelle got out in like a half a second fucking flat and runs for the bottles, the girls were petty as fuck talking shit about Janelle running. And I'm like, you act like that was a huge choice of hers when like
I would have done it.
yeah, half of the people were saying that's the strategy to go with. What she didn't go with your strategy. So you're no, just this goes back to my theory, like not my theory, it's a known scientific fact that a large demographic of women love to hate Janelle.
Yes.
She is the woman that other women hate on because it's a suppressed jealousy thing, it's a looks thing, it's a bullshit thing. But you notice it was only the catty women, the Love Islanders, the thirsty women talking shit that Janelle ran. Now, if I don't think that same kind of drama would have happened if Bananas got loose free and he ran over there. Like, I don't think that same drama would have happened because they were so divided amongst the whole group on whether or not you should run to start searching bottles or you should help to untie.
I almost wonder if the feelings would have been the same, but the outward reaction would have been different.
Yeah.
Like I think that's how like I feel like it wouldn't have been a lot of verbal like, "Oh my god, la la la," because like you're not looking to paint yourself as a target if you're looking at somebody who you are concerned could target you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Janelle is that I think that's probably part of it is like yeah, I feel like it was easier because they feel like they're on a similar level to Janelle socially versus because I mean there are some of the men in the house. It's not really all the men. It's literally pretty much when I say the men, I'm talking Bananas and CT. People are really, really, really concerned about. Dan too, but when we're talking challenge wise, those are the two that people are like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want to. I don't want to hurt them. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's very much the vibe that I've gotten from Bananas when he was here very shortly and still for CT.
Yeah.
CT, by the way, got a shield, as did Janelle. You mentioned that earlier. And then Deontay got the other one. CT and Deontay, they were in the Alpha boat. the
Yes.
alpha vote, it had Marcus,
I'm
CT.
readjusting.
Wait, was it Marcus? Yeah, Marcus,
Yes.
CT, Deontay, and Maxim Shmerkovsky. My baby. My baby. I'm just telling you. I pray he never finds my TikTok. I never finds this podcast. I fangirl over that man. I have fangirled over that man since I first laid eyes on him on Dancing with the Stars.
Well, he
Oh my
sucks at this
god.
game, so.
I know he does. Well, he has good instincts, but he plays the game. No, well, in terms of who the traitors are, not in terms of gameplay. Not in terms of gameplay. No, no. In terms of gameplay, and I could tell you, knowing who he was before the show, I could have told you that was going to happen. So I'll get more into
When
that
we
later.
get
But
to his highlight, I have thoughts that
yeah.
I have some red flags.
So anyways, they won that challenge. They weren't going to
banked
not
some
give them
money.
the 30K. They weren't going to not do that. So
Yeah. They banked some money. They
they
banked
banked
30K.
they banked 30K right off the bat. Kind of go back. I mean, I don't think there was anything super important that happened besides the thing. There was one important thing that did happen. Actually, I lied. And it's a very important thing. It is the beginning of Trishelle versus Peppermint.
Oh my god.
And
So stupid. So stupid.
like it was all over a conversation about outfits. I genuinely like my issue, and so this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people. A lot of people have said they do not want to watch the show after what happened with this. I'm not saying like, oh, it's this big of drama, but some people are really, it is big drama. People are really hurt with what happened. Um and it started off with something really, really small. Like ultimately it wasn't anything that was huge and it blew up so
It's
quickly.
a weird comment for Trishelle to have made.
Mhm.
Trishelle made the comment, well, if I die, then Peppermint is a traitor and she killed me, like something along those lines. And Peppermint was like, where did that come from? And her face, that face, like the what the fuck face, allegedly, supposedly means she must be a traitor, which makes no sense to me.
No.
Um,
Why would a traitor give themselves away that quickly? Even like be realistic. Like just have
even
2
if it
seconds
caught
to
her
think.
off guard, but Trishelle keeps bringing it up and making a thing out of a non-thing instead of keeping it to herself, which I'm like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because now, like, what? What?
No,
She
and
made a
like
face?
it just like the face, like I would understand if she made a face that concerns you and was like, "Ooh." Like if they had like a second where they went like, "Wow." And like you saw kind of the look of fear and then they changed. I could be like, "Ooh, I saw that." But no, Peppermint's face was literally her jaw hit the floor. I don't think I've seen anybody's jaw drop further.
Mm-hmm.
And she just leaned over and was just looking like, "What?" Big just like big
Mm-hmm.
expressions.
A normal, like a normal reaction to such a weird, out of the blue comment.
And like I think part of it too was I mean, I think she was also trying to make a little bit of a little light out of the situation too because it was an uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
situation. So and but Trishelle took it so seriously. And it's just like, but and ultimately this not game of telephone in terms of it got misconstrued, but just this game of telephone where it all of a sudden it just started blowing up. It got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where the
Because
next
she kept
morning she had to
bringing it
address
up.
it. Yep.
So, well, she didn't. Okay, so then that happened, but then the traders meet.
Yep.
Dan and Phaedra met to not just make their first killing, but then
But
to make
to
their first recruit.
recruit.
Now, the options that were thrown out there were Janelle,
Mhm.
Parvati,
Yep. We have
I think
Sandra and
Marcus,
then Larsa. Those were the
Larza.
3.
Yeah.
Or the 4.
They talked about them, but ultimately they end up picking Parvati. I disagreed with this choice. I was disappointed in this choice only because I feel like one, Dan, if he picked Janelle, he at least knew he had that bond there. He knew that she would be good at it. He knew she had experience with it, and then he could trust her more to not stab him in the back versus, Phaedra. You know what I mean? Like he could work out a two duo over that. Parvati, he still could have that, but the reason I don't like the Parvati pick is one, he doesn't know her as well. Two, he does know how cutthroat she is, which also means she could cut his throat. And three, her name's already been thrown out
That was a
because
reason
of
they mentioned it too. They were like, "Oh, well, we want that because it could be somebody easy to divert from." I'm like, I think you're looking at this too surface level, my friend.
yeah, but I wouldn't pick. First of all, I would pick somebody if it were me. You have two ways to go about it. You either pick someone who will definitely get found out way before you, which would be to me, Bergie, Kevin, Deontay, somebody who's clearly not super great that you could protect for a little bit, but they're going to be found out and the easier suspect than you, right? Or pick someone who would be good at it, who no one's looking at yet, which would have been Janelle or even Larza.
He
Um,
combined the two, and that's not like because the problem. So his thought was really like, "Oh, well, I'll do that with Parvati because she's someone that people can jump on right away." Larsa already threw out her name. That was like one of his big arguments for recruiting her.
and that makes no
Um,
sense to me because, like, why would you recruit someone just to have them out so quickly? Because at this point, you're so early. They don't have a whole lot to go by.
yep.
There's only, you haven't even had your first banishment yet, and that's one of like the two names already been thrown out. So I just feel like that was not a very safe,
By
not
the way,
safe, but like
he's
smart
messing
choice.
with a Black Widow. He knows her history. He knows what she's done on Survivor. And just because she could be a nice little easy diversion and help him keep certain blood off of his hands,
It's too early for that.
it's
You want
it's the
somebody who has
wrong
potential for
choice.
that,
That should
but
have been
not
the
somebody
later
who's already in
recruitment.
it.
Like, because there's almost certainly, I'm going to guess, another recruitment that will happen mid-season whenever one of the traitors ultimately gets canned, right?
Yeah,
That would have been the time to make a move like that. That would have been the time to be like, Parvati,
yeah. Come on, girl.
if she's drawing attention, or say like Janelle was drawing attention, or Sandra, anybody who is getting that
Yeah,
spotlight on them, that would have been the time, in my opinion. You're still running risk, obviously, but like the risk is much lower at that point versus now, where not only that, again, he's literally playing with fire by picking Parvati because Parvati can like I don't think he is I don't think he's thinking about the fact that traitors can backstab each other.
yes,
I
that
really think he's forgetting that point, and I think he's not prepared for Phaedra and Parvati to potentially turn on him.
right.
I'm I'm gonna I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I'm gonna make the prediction that it does. That there will be a point in the game where Dan becomes too much of a liability for them. Whether
Yes,
we actually perceive it to be or not, to them, they perceive him to be the liability to them as traders, and they want to get rid.
I
I'm
agree.
gonna be curious to see how that goes.
I agree.
But and that's part of why I think he's not playing the best game. Because if he was at least a little bit more like Phaedra, where he was kind of tossing names out there and kind of just echoing what people are saying to him, he'd have a little bit more trust with these people, so that way when this comes up, they'd be like, well, but Dan was with me on this and me on this, so why would I not trust him? But he's not building the trust anywhere,
Right.
and I'm concerned about that for him. I have so many concerns. I don't think
So
he's
many
playing
concerns.
horrible.
And another concern is why would you kill
Let's
one,
talk about
somebody who
this.
could definitely bank you more money, two, who will absolutely be accused very, very
So
soon,
quickly.
so quickly. Why would you murder Zaddy Johnny Bananas?
Is he? I think he wasn't confident in his ability to get Bananas on his side.
But
All he
even
had to do was
even
get
if that's
Bananas on
the
his
case,
side.
even if that's the case, Bananas isn't going to go after you at first, Dan. He ain't worried with you. Let him compete, win some money to bank in there, and just let him run his mouth. Because the more he runs his mouth, like I guarantee
Yes.
you, he would have been accused by episode 3.
Oh my god, easily. I mean, I think he probably would have come up in episode 2, even just having
Yeah.
a name thrown out. I
Yep.
think the fact that he was murdered by breakfast, everybody was ready to talk about him, and they were like, "Oh, oh,
Well,
okay. Never mind then."
yeah.
That was who I thought was a traitor, but apparently not.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So I don't understand that pick at all. I don't get it. I feel like their second pick was smarter.
oh, way smarter.
I feel like it
Um,
was 50% smarter, meaning I feel like it should have been the other half. Um,
hey, I don't judge. Not at
but
all.
I don't understand this. But yeah, Johnny Bananas was the first to be killed. Everyone comes down for breakfast. And guess what happens at breakfast?
Deontay says, "Let's talk about Trishelle versus Peppermint." And
Yes.
Peppermint's like, "The
Why
fuck?"
is this coming up again? Why are we
Peppermint's like,
still
"What a
talking about this
why?"
fucking look? And not only the fact that you're talking about a conversation where Trishelle said, if if I'm dead, Peppermint's a traitor. Guess who's not dead?
I know. Oh my god, that shit drove me nuts. It wasn't if anybody from the challenge is dead. It's not if Johnny Bananas is dead. It's not like she didn't name somebody specific. She didn't say anything else besides herself. And now she's like, traitor. And like, I loved the confidence that she had when she was like, I'm walking into breakfast and I know I'll see Peppermint there because she's a traitor. And it's like,
And then traitor, I mean Peppermint like gets up and she's like, I'm not a traitor. I just killed with these looks.
lived for
And I loved
classic.
every bit of that, but you could absolutely tell Peppermint was extremely uncomfortable. She felt very targeted.
It
She
made
didn't
me
know where it was
uncomfortable.
coming from. And you could see that she was very visibly shaken. And I felt for her because she admittedly is like, this is not my kind of show. I'm not used to these games. Um, I'm a faithful, but like I don't know what else like I don't know where this is coming from. I'm like, girl, we don't either.
Nope.
We don't either. We don't know where this is coming from. You're doing fine.
Well, and the only thing is, well, she was doing fine. And then she did start making some missteps. Like her big mistake was calling
The flip
herself
up.
traitor. And
But
they
like
were
at
like,
this point, she's flustered and
I
she
would have done
like
the same thing. I would have
you've been
done
in
the
this house
same
less than
thing.
24 hours and the
Yeah.
terminology just got we fuck up. We talk about this shit almost full time and
Oh,
we still
we say stuff all the time, and it's like, you knew what I meant, right? Because that's
yes,
not what I meant.
yes. So, I mean, they just kept dogpiling, and it was uncomfortable to watch.
It was really
Rochelle was the
uncomfortable.
pack leader there, and I don't get it. I'm not gonna say like Trichelle's transphobic or anything like that, but like there might be some implicit biases in there that cause this.
I'm personally the reason I'm not gonna speak on that is just because I don't know who she is. I'm not like if it was like
Yeah,
somebody like if it was Dan, Janelle, Parvati, Sandra, like I'm like well versed. I got the
yeah.
Bible on these people. Like I know it's not that I am going like
I would
my
never put that kind of accusation out there for somebody I didn't feel comfortable. Like I didn't see on the live feeds. I didn't watch them. I don't follow them. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're. I'm not. I'm just not discrediting the fact that like it might be an implicit bias. I don't think it
yes.
was like straight like transphobia. I
I'm not
don't
gonna
think.
deny that I think there was definitely implicit bias there.
Yeah,
And like that's what I wanna stand firm on. I definitely do believe that. I'm just not saying that there was any actual like malicious intent. I don't
right.
know because I don't know who she is. And like also
We want to be fair to anybody, like
if
to
you guys are
everybody.
listening to and you know more and you want to share articles, clips, anything to help us kind of understand more about something like that, please, we always welcome that just because like we always want to be as educated as possible.
For sure.
Um and like we can unfortunately go back and rewatch all of these shows a bajillion a bajillion of these shows.
So many shows.
So
But I
many
did
fun
like this.
shows.
So they moved into this challenge, and I really did like this
Yes.
challenge. It was a personality
Great.
challenge. I love these kinds where you're kind of it's not just a challenge, it is a challenge that has social ripples.
Implications.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so it
Um,
was like basically superlatives. So I guess they were all asked questions individually and they were racing through these fields and they come across a scarecrow with a question that would be like, who do you trust the most, or who is the most influential in the house? And there's two options to choose, and they would choose like, oh, Marcus, it would be the majority answer, and they would take that scarecrow, and if that's the correct answer, the next box would unlock with the key on the scarecrow. This was really interesting. Peppermint ended up being the most popular or the most liked.
Yes, so it was who's the most popular, and it was either her or Deontay. And after breakfast, literally everybody was like anti peppermint. So my question is, or not everybody, but there was a lot of people who were at least questioning. I'm wondering when this survey was done,
Yeah,
because like it clearly was not done right before the challenge, because that wouldn't have been the response we
it
got.
wouldn't have been, no.
Um
Um,
and so it was between her,
oh my gosh,
Deontay,
I'm sorry.
and
I'm
everybody was
so
like,
uncomfortable.
"Deontay!" The blue team actually originally picked Peppermint and then talked themselves out of it because of what happened, and they were
Yeah.
just like, "No, no, it's gotta be Deontay." Everybody was wrong. The other 2 questions were, "Whose opinion do you value most?" The options were Larsa and Marcus, and it was Marcus. That was the beginning of the end for Marcus, I think. He didn't Marcus did not do a good job of blending in. He was very smart, but he wasn't afraid to like, and I think in real life it's definitely a great like asset to not be afraid to speak your mind. But like he didn't have enough discretion when it came to certain people he was telling. He just told everybody everything from what I can
That's true.
tell. And so I think this question was where it really started for Marcus. I mean, I think the Traitors already had their eye on him for like kind of being a little smarty pants already, but I think this question getting the group's consensus was a massive red flag for them.
Yeah, so well, yes. And he would have been one of my red flags. Him and Larsa would have been red flags
Yeah.
for me almost immediately.
Oh yeah.
Um,
A couple you've got to
but
split that up no matter what game.
another, not just the split up of it, but they seem to be very intuitive, intellectual, and talkative. And that's a problem. But the other thing to note here was John was booking it. He was hauling ass. And so this is like, evidence A of like it was the heavy breathing. Well, now he's booking it, and his asthmatic ass wasn't a heave in sight. Wasn't it? Was not a gasp, and it did look sus. I think it is a little bit grasping at straws here, but it is a little weird to say like, oh, I have breathing problems and asthma and stuff, and then you're running like you're in the Boston Marathon.
I know.
Um,
Tamra was smart though. I really did. Well, she was smart, and then I also have an afterthought. I did like how she was like, "Ooh, let's ask him for if he has an inhaler." Um, and at first I was like, "But wouldn't it just be like he would just get it from medical or something like that?" And maybe even if he did, she could have just been asking like, "Do you have does medical have an inhaler for you or something?" But I liked the question. I liked the idea of like trying to test him to see if he had that, and like because if you're running so fast, he also tripped. He took a digger. Oh
yeah,
my
yeah,
that was
yeah.
really funny. I lived to watch him in that. Pretty much the only entertainment he's brought me right now so far. I really apologize if this is just so cruel, but like he's been a dud for me besides watching him in challenges when he falls on his ass and he does stupid things, and it's just
I like some of the things he
hilarious.
says. Like he has some like, cute little one-liner, like very British things. And so that's what he
Disaster.
yeah,
Gird your
he's
loins.
very British. Okay. And that can be entertaining for me. The other part of this challenge was so then they get to this big field of scarecrows and there's coins in the front half, but in the back there's shields. And Dan books it for a shield. He wants to look desperate for one. And I feel like that was like a plus move. That's what
That
you
was
want to
definitely a
do.
great move.
Yeah. So that was another like point for Dan in my book. That he went straight like he was hungry for a shield and then made a very not overly acted out comment. He didn't, it was very subtle. at breakfast the next morning when they're like, "How'd you sleep?" And he's like, "Actually, good. I had the shield." And so it's like for the first time since we got here, like that I've been like, "Whew, I've been able to sleep okay." And I'm like, the way he played it was just so realistic and subtle. So I was like, yes, yes.
And gaining himself back because people were already starting to be kind of like, what do we
Yeah.
think? His name had already been floated a couple times, not super seriously, but people just being like, Dan could be a traitor because Dan.
Yeah.
um.
And if
So
you
and
see, for those of y'all watching, I'm so sorry if I'm very squirmy, but I've literally been on my Tookith all day, and it's starting to
she's,
like,
I'm in pain.
yeah, yeah.
She's like, I need to get up.
Like it's just so if you see me readjusting, it's just because I've been stationary literally since 6 a.m. So in this spot.
It's like, get me
So I
out
know
of
that's
here.
distracting and annoying. But
You don't
yeah,
have
so
too much
then
more to
we
go.
get to our first round table.
Yeah, in the hot seat, there's really only two people. It's John, Asmagate,
Yeah.
and Peppermint. I mean, we don't need to really rehash any of the drama. They did. We don't need to. But Max, MJ, and Parvati did come to Peppermint's defense.
Mhm.
Parvati didn't end let me rewind. Parvati did end up voting for Peppermint at the end. But Max and MJ did not. But like she did come to Peppermint's defense during that round table. Asmagate, Janelle was like, Janelle brought it back up. Was it Tamara or Janelle? One of them brought it up. And then they both kind of just went in on John, and John, for a politician, did a really bad job of defending himself. I'm
I
like,
think it
buddy,
just he wasn't expecting it. I think it just really came out of nowhere for him and he was just caught off guard.
but a good politician knows how to they know how to talk, they know how to schmooze.
And I
And
feel
he
like he
doesn't
did
seem
that
like
in
a
a
good
politician
schmoozer.
way. And
Well,
she
he's
called him on that.
she did
Um,
he doesn't seem like a good schmoozer to me. There's a reason. I think there's a reason he wasn't amazing in British politics.
I
I've
know
read up.
nothing about British politics, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah,
He
it,
was a character, to put it mildly.
um
But
so
yeah,
yeah, they end up all dogpiling on Peppermint. Now, honestly, in this particular game, I could absolutely see there's also comes in the play to play like what do the traitors vote for? Do they vote with the majority and be obvious, or do they vote and go rogue and vote for somebody else? Um somebody that they want their names to float out there in some way, shape, or form. Um and it was interesting to me the way Phaedra and Dan went about this. And in the next round table as well as Parvati. Someone went completely off books with a name that wasn't even floated out in some of these round
I
tables.
know. That was
And
wild.
I that's an interesting strategy, but it's a strategy. So this part is always interesting to me. I feel like the majority of the people that voted for Peppermint didn't have a suspect that they were willing to have beef with just yet. So they're like, all right, well, Peppermint's gonna go this time. I'm gonna sacrifice this one just to keep my eye on the people I really think it is, you know?
Yep.
And that does happen a lot in this game.
Oh, a ton. It just is really disappointing that it had to happen this way to a woman who is trying to represent the trans community, and that it happened literally, like, I don't know. It just is so frustrating because, like, she deserves so much better than the treatment she received. Um, I understand and genuinely feel why people are disappointed
Mhm.
with how this went down, because that round table was uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
was not having a fun time. Both I'll just say also, the first 2 round tables were both made me a little uncomfy, and I was
I
like,
mean, we'll talk about the second one.
well, the
But
second one probably was more of a me personal thing than a it was
yes, it was
actually
very much a
uncomfortable.
you personal thing.
We'll talk about it in we'll get there.
But I do want to give a special shout out to RuPaul's Drag Race, who just won the Emmy for Best Reality Competition Series. I know Survivor was in the mix. I know The Amazing Race is in the mix. A lot of shows we covered is in the mix.
Big Brother
Couldn't
was not.
be more thrilled for RuPaul's Drag Race that just started off as like a little indie show on what, like VH1, I think is where it's no. What was the other
I
channel it's
do
on
not
around?
know where it started, but I know it was on VH1 for quite some
It was
time.
before VH1, it was on oh my god, we used to call it the gay channel. Um it was like a little network and we're like that's I
I
watched it
should
all.
know it. I cannot think of it. I'll
Do you know what
Google
I'm
it while
talking
we
about?
talk. I'll look it up, but keep going.
And I say that, but like we are very much alphabet mafia around here. So,
Oh,
but
yeah.
like the gay channel's what made me. Um,
What is it?
didn't make
Oh,
me who I
Logo
am. I'm just
TV?
saying it really like at first. God, what was that? What was that network called?
Logo TV?
Was it Logo?
Logo or it shows Logo TV for seasons 1 through 8, WoW Presents Plus, VH1, and now on MTV.
We're gonna find this out because
Yeah, that's the network that it started on.
it's a Logo. Okay, maybe they just had a bunch of. So anyway, I just remember growing up in a very small town, knowing I wasn't straight, but I wasn't a lesbian. Like I just knew, but I didn't know anything else. I knew that there was this channel I could watch not just RuPaul's Drag Race, but there were like multiple other programs, like little like sitcoms and things like that that just had a lot um of gay culture and it was very much how I was exposed to a lot of that stuff and got my foot into like being full like educated on it and like learning, eventually learning my own journey. So RuPaul's Drag Race will always have a very, very, very special place in my heart. And so I'm very excited for them to win that Emmy. So I just wanted to give a little side shout out before we say goodbye to Peppermint because we're not going to get to cover her.
Well, speaking of that, I think, I do wanna also say it was really great to hear what Rue said during the speech. The
Yes.
speech was very brief, but it was very important. Said, like, "Trust your drag queens," like, "We are friendly people," like,
Let them read you a book.
it literally was just like, "A lot of these people are really smart people. Let's not," basically, let's not hate this community because of some of the
Ignorance.
stuff that has been going on in this country, unfortunately, which has been really depressing. But it was a really great opportunity. Like it was a great platform, and I'm really, really glad that Rue used
Yeah,
that opportunity. It was
I
really,
I
really
was
great.
crying.
Um, I
Um,
I got a little choked up too, and I was working, and I was like, "Get yourself together,
yeah,
Abigail. You could do
felt
it."
pimped. Um, oh,
Um,
so my next note was Dan and Parvati, the same person, different fonts. Um,
so we just exited the round table, and the only real important note I have for post reaction is that this is when Marcus screwed his entire game. And he looked at Danny and goes, "Guess what? I didn't really like that you didn't talk at that
mhm,
round table. It's kind of suspicious to me. Gonna tell you, gonna be honest, Dan, you're kind of coming off as a traitor right now. I don't know, but you're kind of giving traitor a little." And Dan was like, "Wow, thanks for the information. I'm gonna take that right to the turret."
yeah,
And he was as we walk into episode 3, these episodes are not flowing in terms of, like, you have a banishment and then a murder and then the end.
yeah.
Like, it's very kind of choppy. Or
Deontay was crying.
well,
Deontay
Deontay
cried,
he cried after both of them.
both of
He
them.
was very emotional. He was very connected with Peppermint, did not like how it felt. He was like, "I know what it's like to be othered. I don't like that. I can't believe I participated in that." Melted my heart a little bit.
Well,
Um,
he was the one that kicked off the Peppermint conversation at the round table, and so
yes.
that really affected him. Um, he did get a bit emotional afterward and said that that wasn't a good feeling, that he feels awful. Um, and then we saw that, also had the conversation with Marcus and Dan, passing, walking combo, if you want to even call it that. And then the Traitors do meet Parvati for the first time. It is revealed to her who the other two are. She had said she had no idea that they were playing so well. Um, the options that they first threw out were Deontay because of challenge threats, Marcus because he was most likely to catch them, and he had Larza. That's so funny. My autocorrect changed it from Larza to Larva all across my notes.
That's really funny.
And then Janelle because of the experience with these kinds of games and how smart she is. I really liked the editing this time around where we're seeing them in the rooms and when they're talking about them and
Yep.
stuff. And I really like the cinematography of it all.
Much better this time around than
Yes.
season 1. I think
I
season
liked
1
that we
was
saw Alan sliding the envelopes and walking through the rooms and everyone kind of looking at their doors and that like just the drama of it all. And I liked that a lot this time around. But they did ultimately decide to kill Marcus.
Yeah, I do think it was a smart move. I think it
Definitely.
was. And I think
Especially since that conversation between him and Dan was not public. It was
private.
yes. If that had happened and then, you don't want to kill somebody who just publicly accused you. But somebody like makes a comment that way, take them out before they have a chance to spread it.
Especially when it's the night of the murder. And
Yeah.
like that's the thing. Marcus did not think straight. Now he was really smart about picking up on certain clues, but there was a lot that he didn't get. And like one of the things is like probably reality television 101 is like don't show your cards when you are on the block to be eliminated. And I'm sure he probably didn't look at himself like that. But like when he is in danger of being murdered by somebody he has no idea who it
Mhm.
is, why on earth would he make this accusation right before the murder is about to occur?
Exactly.
Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not even saying it would have made sense if he made it at breakfast, but the
I don't think you should
last
be accusing anybody to their face except for at the round table.
well, and I absolutely agree, because then that's the thing is, like, that's where everybody can hold people accountable for what they say. Everybody's in the room, everybody can hear it,
Mhm.
everybody is able to kind of have their own opinions.
Yeah.
And I just gotta say, Marcus really hyped himself up. He was just like, "I'm a Jordan, I'm a Jordan, I'm a Jordan." And it's like, first of all, we get it. Second of all, it does being a Jordan help you in reality television? Because it doesn't really look like it. I'm not trying to be
No.
a jackass or anything, but like it was just he was so
It was
full of himself. And it was like,
yeah.
well, that and then the last comment, he was like, they either did it because I figured them out, or they're just jealous of me and Larsa. And I'm like, you
I mean,
really
let's
should have
be
just
honest.
stopped after you just
They
stopped.
that could have been like a snarky comment, but I'm saying let's be honest. They went into this show knowing that they had a heightened target because they were a duo.
Right.
Um, they said that in some of their like confessionals in the first few minutes of the episode. So,
They're just jealous. Shush. No.
um, yeah, so it was very dramatic. Everybody came down for breakfast and everything, and Lars is just waiting and waiting, and Marcus doesn't come. Um,
That was so funny. Oh my
she
god.
didn't seem as surprised as I thought she would be.
I thought she was gonna have a way more dramatic reaction. I think
Same.
she was genuinely so stunned, she didn't really know how to physically react. She was kind of, like, in freeze mode where she was just like,
Like
"I have
what?
to do this now?
Yeah.
Alone? He's gone? What are we doing?" I can see it.
Um, but I did like okay, so the next part was the graveyard challenge. That
Yes,
was very fun.
that was a lot of fun. Um,
But we did get some drama. We don't
so so we had 3 shields available. Tamara got one that CT almost got, but CT got caught in light. Uh, Peter got one, and I'll tell you, Peter is a dark horse in my opinion. He is looking real interesting to me. I don't know how far he goes. Um, he might not even make it much further, to be honest. But all I'm saying is if he can stay, he will be dangerous to the traitors. And I think when Dan was like, "Oh, he doesn't know he's sitting next to a traitor," and I'm like, "Yet." I think he just hasn't had enough time to figure it out. Like we've been here for what, 2
yeah.
days? Like give him time, or don't give him time. Actually, don't give him time. Don't want that. But anyway, so those were the first two. The third person to get one was Janelle, but it came with a little bit of elbowing with Ek and Sue, and they
Did
both
I've watched it twice now. I don't see what the fuck she's talking about. Janelle was
no.
there. You just because you're standing behind her doesn't mean she shoved you out of the way to get it.
I'll
But
bet you
Ek
she
and
probably
Sue,
gave
this
her a
is
nudge as she went in to go get it, but it's like she did not shove you out of the way. The
no.
camera doesn't lie.
As soon as they get in the cars, Ek and Sue's already talking shit. And I'm like, you can't keep Janelle's name out your mouth. So
Nope.
if you want, smoke, why don't you tell Janelle you want smoke? But so far, all you're doing is talking shit about her running to get a shield the first time, and then her beating you to a shield the second time when she was there first. So if you have a hard on for her, like let's bring it to the round table. But she got called out at that round table. This is where I'm like, see, I see her shit. I see her petty drama bullshit, and that's why I say, like, I like her for this show.
Oh
I like
yeah.
her for this cast. I don't think I'd like her outside of the show. Um, but is that petty girl drama shit because not only are you threatened by her, but you're intimidated by her as well because someone tried to bring that shit up at the round table. Like, hey, what happened between you two? And not only do you like tell Janelle like what you were talking shit about, but then you back down. You're like, but I don't think that means she's a traitor, like Max, and like she goes back to whatever. Like you no, say it with your chest. Say it with your whole ass chest.
Yep.
But she cowered down, like, I don't think she's a traitor, and then like whatever. But oh, it just that whole thing is just so petty. And I like it for the drama. I hate it for the trauma.
No, I absolutely agree. Like,
There are certain things that are very triggering to me and you as a woman that we've dealt with shit like this. We know women like this. We've had high school, schoolyard experiences like this, like, and it never in
mhm,
workplace experiences like this. And so shit like this is great for entertainment. But then as a viewer who's lived it, like similar vibes and situations and personalities, you're
hyperventilating.
like, it's yes. Like I've been there. I've been there. She's evil.
I'm flashing back. I'm flashing back. The other really big highlight though of this challenge is Bergie. And this is where I think Bergie has entered the upswing of the underdog. Um we saw at the beginning where he's like all shaky, like first episode I'm talking, where like Ekin goes up to him and is like, "Are you a traitor? You're shaking, you're spilling your drink." And he's like, "I am, aren't I? I'm a mess." And he's an absolute wreck. Was so nervous, and like Bananas is like, "This guy is not cut out for this. I don't know why he's here." But then
What,
we get
he's
to this
sleeping with a
challenge.
teddy bear?
Oh my god. Well, I'm just so surprised at this change. I'd never imagined that Bergie would have.
Okay, he figured out the light patterns and he's hollering for people to listen to him. They finally start listening to him. They're like, oh my God, Bergie's here. And he's all of a sudden here. That gave him a sense of confidence to go into the next round
Yes.
table and kick off the round table with, like, so damn, people been saying your name. What you got to say? Like, I'm like, bitch, you just arrived like 10
I
minutes ago.
know. But I think it shows that he's willing to play this game now. And it's not that I don't think he was not before, but I think it's like he got the confidence when he got eliminated. He was like high-fiving everybody and he was like, even in college I didn't get these opportunities to show these kinds of leadership skills. And he's like, "I'm really, really proud of myself. Like, I really want to show people that I can do this kind of stuff. I want to show myself I can do this kind of stuff. I'm excited to see what comes." And I'm like, ah! Just the person who loves underdog stories, genuine underdog stories. I'm just watching it. I'm like, "Oh, this is fun. I'm enjoying. This is fun." But like, he has to be careful because he doesn't want to tread too much on the Traitors' toes. And
Now, he did
he didn't
say,
do
like,
too
the
much.
way he worded it was just kind of like, hey, Dan, they're talking shit. You want to defend yourself? Like, it wasn't like he was
Yep.
making the accusation.
Yep.
Now, Deontay says, like, comes to Dan's defense, and he's like, I don't think you're a traitor. But then he goes on this spiel that he, like, clearly rehearsed. He's
Oh,
like,
so obviously.
someone who walks like a traitor and talks like a traitor and has a presence in the room like a traitor. and their whole personality changed after the first night. And that's you, Max. Like, he wasn't even looking at it when he was talking, and then he, like, points at him at the end like it was a big
So
dun 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 reveal.
melodramatic.
So dramatic. Now, Max got like accused or whatever, and about like because they said his personality changed after from when they first started to after the picks happened,
Did it
and
though?
his demeanor at breakfast, that he like laughed at one of the killings or whatever. Sandra jumps in and about the laughing, so they're all kind of dogpiling like, yeah, what about this and what about this, what about this. Here's where my, not just he fucked up his game, but my huge red flags, like as a man, come in, is he literally only, his only defense was, what about you? What about you? And then just started throwing people who were accusing him under the bus instead of defending himself. He was just deflecting on everybody else. And they're like, that's really suspicious. That's what a traitor would do. And like, you're deflecting, you're deflecting. And he's like, it. And so here's where I'm like, yeah, he doesn't get the competition aspect of it, but like, oh, I hope that's not how he fights.
No, it's I can tell you it's not, like,
Okay,
from
because
what I've
I'm
seen,
looking
no,
at
no,
like he's a
no.
man,
I think it's
and
because
you
the
get those
women
guys, right? You
I
get those
think
men who are cheating on you, but then they're like, you get a text message and they're like,
yeah.
tell your boyfriend I said hi,
Oh,
or what you,
he's a big defender of women from what I have seen.
okay. And I take,
Um,
you know, you follow him, you knew all this. I'm just saying that that's what this moment was giving me. And I was like, ew,
the reason
ew.
I see it, but I think the reason he went after women is, first of all, it was just because they were the ones that had the beef that existed in public. Like, Janelle and Ekin were the only ones that really had anything that he could grasp onto to try and deflect. And he's not a game player. So one of the things that I think, I don't know if people picked up on, he got very, very uncomfortable when the accusations started flying. And he literally said that word for word. He goes, I'm actually not comfortable defending myself. And I feel like that was a red flag. I was like, don't tell them that. That's not a good idea. But I want people to understand that while they might not have needed to believe that, I want us to believe that, because that is genuinely like unless he like he will defend himself. But when it comes to accusations, when he's like playing a game and he doesn't really know how this is working, he was very flustered. He did not know how to handle this, because when it comes to real life, he just tells you how it fucking is. And he
Mhm.
doesn't beat around the bush. It is
Okay.
literally like, you are going to hear what I say. Like, if he had a problem with a judge, he would tell them on the air. Might
Yeah.
not use their name necessarily, but he would be like, or sometimes he would use their name, and he would not have a problem. He was known as or is known for being incredibly blunt. And I think him knowing that he couldn't be that way without coming off as a traitor, he was like, I can't defend myself the way I'm used to, and I don't know what to do here. And I think he thought his only option was to just deflect it onto the other drama. And I think he tried, the way he tried to do it in kind of be smooth, I give him credit for. He did not do it well. I give him credit for trying, though, because he is Dancing with the Stars. He doesn't have any. That's the thing, is like, like he's playing against people. I'm not trying to be like, and you should be okay with it, but he's playing against people who have reality television experience.
Hmm.
These people are eating him alive, just eating him alive. He has
Yeah.
nothing. Like, Janelle ruining him, Sandra ruining him. But also there are people like Deontay who haven't played, also kind of ruining him. Um, I just think this wasn't necessarily going to be a good game for him when it came to accusations. I knew
Yeah.
from the get, once he started getting accused, he was going to have a very hard time backing out of it. But to his credit, he was really good at picking out what was actually going on. Like, when Peppermint was just getting accused over nothing, he's like, is there anything actually to go on, or is this just hearsay? Are we just going off of random things? Because I don't
And he
see
still
anything.
voted for her.
No, he didn't. No, he voted for John. I know.
Max voted for John.
Max voted for John.
Okay. So
Max and MJ
that was
voted
the other
for.
thing I kept seeing at these roundtables too. Like, Okay, so Larsa, she says she changes the subject then, and she says Dan's calm uneases her, and this is when she brings it back to Dan.
He got real close. He was on the hot seat for a bit.
He was, but I feel like he handled it very well. I
Yes.
feel like he did. I was very impressed with his reactions and how he's like, "I will do better at that. I will come and talk to you, Ekin-Su." And um, so the votes played out where Dan and Janelle each got a vote. Somebody who voted Janelle?
I have the votes. Hold on. Okay. What order would you like? I have the order as Janelle. Well, I have Janelle and Ekin first. Janelle had one from Ekin. Ekin had two, one from Max, one from Phaedra.
Okay.
So that's where their votes lied. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
No.
So who voted for Janelle?
Ekin was the one vote for Janelle.
Ekin did vote for Janelle.
Yes, but she was the only person who voted for Janelle.
Okay. So that's confusing too, because she even said, like, I don't think you're a traitor. But anyway, I just caught that it was
I think she
Janelle
just
got a
wanted her
vote.
out of the game, and she just
Yeah.
wanted to be. I don't think she even anticipated other people were voting. I think she was just like, well, let's just see if people bought into it. And either way, I'm just going to give her the middle finger because I know it was pretty obvious Max was going. I think she just wanted to stick it to her.
Yeah. I did like that Phaedra voted for Ekin-Su and said, like,
Yep.
I think your story just makes like you look like more of a traitor. I like that for her. Because it doesn't seem too herd mentality ish, but it also puts another suspect on the horizon for the next one.
And she played
Um,
it off like, "Oh, I kind of like I understand where Max is coming from and I'm confused. I'm going." Like she kind of played like a bunch of different little small things where it was just kind of like this is all very confusing, and I think it like making it sound like her vote was out of confusion is really really important. And that's she's done that twice now, you know? That's a really big thing for at least early on for these traders is to blend in and this is an easy time to do
and
so.
everyone loves her. It's giving
Mhm.
Suri 2.0.
Yes. Oh my god, so much. Now we have
Um,
a couple other random votes unless there's other things you wanted to
well,
discuss with
yeah, I was
them.
gonna say that Larsa voted for Dan. Now, this also plays into my theory. I think that that private conversation, that comment that Marcus made to Dan, he also made to Larsa. And
Well,
he
and
told Larsa about this conversation. So this would be Larsa's. I think that you killed Marcus because he said you were too quiet, but that's not the reason she thinks it. That's
do you think do you think who told Lars do you think Marcus told Larsa
yeah.
or yeah, I thought no, I just wanted to make sure before I like made any
I think Marcus
incorrect
told
assumptions.
Larsa, and that mixed with Dan and who he is, and then there probably spurred another conversation with someone else, like, "Oh, you don't know this about
MJ.
Dan, blah blah blah,"
I
and
think it's
then
MJ because MJ has been very she is just starting to get into this edit. She was very quiet in the first 2 episodes. Now we're
yeah,
finally starting to see her and we really got to see her and really start her social game by by targeting Dan and I'm like that's bold. You went from just like having just a very quiet like plateau of a social game to just being like it's Dan. And she was pretty
mhm,
bold. She wasn't like harsh about it, but she was pretty the word determined is the only word that's coming to my mind. It's not the word that I'm looking for, but you know what I'm
mhm.
saying. My brain's just not wording today. So they were the only two that voted for Dan. Dan did get 2 votes. Again, one from Larsa and one from MJ.
Now Parvati voting for Kevin makes no sense to me.
Okay, so let's talk about the Kevin and Peter votes real quick. And then obviously it's no surprise who goes home after that. But so Peter and Kevin right before the vote, we're sitting in I can never I'm gonna guess it's the kitchen. They all look fucking the same to me, sorry. Sitting in, I think the kitchen, and Peter's like, I want to try and draw suspicion away from us as traitors. I want it to kind of seem like we're targeting each other and try and like kind of like I'm not sure. I don't really know where he was coming from with that because I'm not really sure what the diversion really is. Um The funny thing is, Peter cast his hinky vote for Kevin the same night that Parvati did. And that's what you were mentioning. And I think it's funny because unless there's a conversation we missed,
There
how
has to
the
be.
hell did that happen on the same night? How? Like, I don't even know where it came from with Parv. Do you? Like, I didn't.
I don't know. My big takeaway on this is I go back to like what we were talking about the first round table, and that splitting up your votes like that is so dangerous in this game.
Mhm.
And you don't want to throw out too many names. You don't want to be a unique vote. You don't want to be a one or two vote. Especially this early on. And so I feel like the whole thing's a little reckless and kind of silly this early.
I live for it
But
though.
they don't have experience with these types of games. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's, but then, everybody else voted for Max. So
Yeah, he was out 10 nothing. Um he also
but
had a
here's
little
my
bit of
thing. I have
a, or
a
not
tangent
10
here.
nothing, excuse me. But what?
I have a tangent here. So Max gets up and he's like, I'm a faithful. And then they are all like, I'm pissed and I'm upset. And da, da, da. But then Larza, this is where I'm like, this is either hypocritical or production won't let you say the real reason you are targeting Dan. But she's like, guys, she lectures the whole room about targeting. We're missing out because we're targeting people based on their personality traits, and we need more than that. Your literal whole soapbox before was Dan has to be a traitor because he's too introverted and quiet. So like you're either a big ass hypocrite, changed your mind, or you are faking the reason that you think it's Dan.
I don't think she's faking. I almost also wonder if she just can't really put words to it. Sometimes that happens to me too, where I'm like, I know I feel this way, but I couldn't tell you why.
But
And it's
this
not
soapbox about targeting people based on personality
right.
traits,
And
because
I'm
they
not
did it
saying
with
that
Max,
that's
they did it
yeah.
with Peppermint, and you're doing it with Dan.
So I'm not I totally agree with that. I feel like she's kind of just like throwing together a word salad, kind of hoping that it like describes how she feels. And then when it doesn't, she kind of tries to tweak it until it works.
Yeah.
I've done that personally, so I'm just gonna say from someone who's done stuff like that, I'll tell you that's kind of the vibe I got. But I think she's going off of whatever instinct she has, probably with Marcus. um, and I do think it's really odd how Marcus was so adamant that night that it was Dan, and then now all of a sudden Larsa is so adamant that it's Dan. And I'm
I
not
think they're
saying it's Dan.
so adamant because it's Dan, that it's Dan because they've had a
Oh yeah,
conversation with someone about someone who knows Dan, having the same theories that we on the outside have. And now, okay, well, he's very quiet. And now you're looking at him for those things. I
yeah.
don't think those things would be looked at if that, this is why I'm like, I'm just so sure, even more so after the second watch, that there's a puzzle piece production won't let them share.
Either that or it could have just been left on the cutting room floor in editing, and they thought it wasn't an important thing. Because I'll tell you, like, to go on a to bring up a Survivor example, back on season oh fuck, I can't keep any of the new
Because
seasons
Kevin's
together.
quiet.
Season 42. On season 42, if you know who Omar is, um, Omar was voted out with an advantage in his pocket that we literally never even knew existed. And he got it like weeks before he was voted out. And
Yep.
they just chose not to tell us that he had it in his pocket. When in reality, you can go back and look at how his vote out occurred. And we were missing that puzzle piece the entire time. And we just didn't get it because they cut it out for time. They didn't want, not that they were like, oh, it's not a part of the storyline we want. They didn't have time for it essentially and cut it out. And so a lot of the things that we saw leading up to Omar's vote out, sorry if that's a spoiler alert or if that's a spoiler, but that's kind of what happened there. So I'm just wondering if there's something on the cutting room floor that they're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, not enough. We'll just give it to we'll just like kind of see if the story can carry itself. That's my guess.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, I still I truly feel that they were looking at Dan for the same reason we feel that this was prearranged.
Oh, well, I also agree with that.
Yeah.
I think everybody
But
is.
that's the part that they can't show, so now they're honing in on, well, he's suspicious because he's quiet.
Right.
Like, he's the only quiet person in the house, which is
Right.
not true either. So
It's
I just it's
That doesn't help the storytelling either, because it's like if you're gonna play up like, "Hey, people are saying this about people's personalities," and then all you can bank on is things like Larsa being like, "It's his personality," and I'm with you. I think
yeah,
maybe where I come from is, who am I more critical of? Is it Larsa or is it the way it's being produced? And actually, just right now, without knowing everything that
yeah,
happened behind the scenes, I can't make that call. I'm not. So it could be one or the other. Either way, it's interesting to say the least. Um, Deontay was more emotional after this vote out than the first.
I mean,
Um,
he practiced a speech,
I
so
also do think I think something that Phaedra mentioned, I don't know if other people caught it, but like they were friends. Deontay and Max were. And then something that I came up with, not came up with like I'm so creative, but I'm so special. No. So in my coverage in fandom, I know a little bit about Maxim Shmerkovsky's history with Ukraine. And Max grew up with the boxing brothers boxing, I hope it's boxing, known as the Klitschko brothers. Um, and Deontay and one of the Klitschkos sparred at one point. Um, they were, like, too far apart from what I read to, like, be able to, like, have a fight, like, the Klitschkos were way too old and Deontay was just getting into the scene. But I'm just wondering if there was, like, even if they didn't know each other personally, if, like, they knew things about each other, if there was something that, like, we don't know about, like, the relationship between Deontay and Max from outside of the castle, because that's just because they have mutuals and they have
yeah,
similar-ish backgrounds. I mean, Max is from the dancing world and the Klitschkos are from boxing, but they grew up, from what I read, pretty not close knit, but they grew up in the same kind of communities. So, um, praying that's not wrong. That's all off of my memory. Um, but so that was just one of the things where I was like, I wonder if there's like a dynamic that we don't know about between them. I could just be spitballing too, and there's nothing there. But it was just something I thought about. Um, that was the only thing. Phaedra played mom with that. She was wiping
mhm,
his tears. That one got me a little choked up too, because like it is hard to watch people take things so personally and just be like hurt when they hurt people.
yeah.
Made me emotional. So Deontay is fun to watch, but boy, like his reads on the house are so bad. They're so bad. I don't know what he's doing. Like he is so confidently wrong, almost like Quentin was last season. Like it was like anytime he was confident, it was confidently wrong. It's just like, hey,
Yes.
kudos to you.
Um, but then the Traitors got a twist that there wouldn't be they wouldn't be meeting,
Yep.
that they had to murder in plain sight, and that's where they got this chalice challenge.
This is so fun.
Loved this. This was fun.
Yeah. So with the challenge was they had to go into the library, find like 3 Shakespeare books that are kind of bound together, pull it out, there's a chalice inside, and then they have to fill the chalice with a drink and get somebody to drink out of it. And the first person to drink out of it will be poisoned and they'll
Okay,
be
but did they
killed.
have to make it like a nasty ass looking chalice? Like that looks like it's gonna make my drink taste terrible.
I so I have thought about this because I think it was intentional, because I don't think they wanted the cup to look like the other cups. I think they probably wanted something like a reaction like that where they were like, "Who wants to put their lips up to this musty, dusty, crusty cup?" You know, like who's gonna be the person to
Johnny
do it?
Bananas would have.
Oh my, yeah, he would have done that in a heartbeat. That would have been the easiest kill of the night. He would have been
Yeah.
like, "Cheers." But I love this. This is the kind of stuff we're looking for in a murder mystery reality television show. So
Absolutely.
I was so thrilled when they pulled this out of their hat. The only thing that I didn't like is they left us on a to be continued. I get it for
Yeah.
editing sake, because like I understand they're not gonna probably murder somebody and then be like, the end, come back
But
next
then, like,
week. But
in the
like,
teasers, the coming up or
I know.
whatever, like, I feel like they gave too much away. Like,
Yes,
we
they
know a murder is gonna fail because Bergie's gonna say, like, "I'm supposed to be dead."
well, I think that could also be play. I don't know if Bergie's gonna be the person Tart could be, but I almost wonder if they're really just playing with something he said to make you think that he was the person who was targeted.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, we know something's gonna happen. I don't know.
well, I mean, I am that jackass that pauses things to see who I can see,
And Berg
and who I can't see,
Mhm.
and there were a few people I did not see on that walk when they were, like, doing the,
The
like,
funeral walk?
funeral walk. Thing is, people could have been in caskets already, so who
Mhm.
knows? But, like, no, I did not write them down because I was so hyped up. I was like, "Oh." One okay, don't shoot the messenger when I say this, and this is also just what I saw.
Okay.
I did not see Janelle.
I did see Janelle.
Well, I saw her in the first shot, but when they're walking down the path, I did not see Janelle. Um, Walking down the path, I also did not see Kevin. Oh, no, not Kevin. Peter. Excuse me. I don't know why I mixed those two up. I did not see Peter. There was somebody else I didn't see too. I want to say it was either Tamara or Trishelle because I only saw one small, like blonde woman. But this is
Okay.
all off my memory. So like I remember looking at it and being like, "Oh, I don't see this person. I don't see this person. Who the fuck?" But like, so it's interesting because we did see Janelle in that first part when they were like, "We're doing the funeral walk," and then in that next clip, I didn't see her. So curious to see how that's gonna work. I don't know. I wonder if that's gonna play into how the poison works. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how episode 4 goes. But if you could take a guess, who do you think is gonna be poisoned and murdered?
I think it's a guy.
This is
I
a
don't know.
natural pause.
I don't know why my gut is telling me that they fail.
Can they fail?
Yeah, they only had a certain amount of time to do it.
But what did they list a consequence?
Then no one's murdered.
I would think that, and I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just like I would think that there
No
would be
one being
more.
murdered is bad because it's
I know, but I feel like that would be. I don't know. You're probably not wrong. I'm just like racking my brain of how that would make
I
sense.
think they fail at it because yeah, it's a challenge and they only had X amount of time to complete it.
I think from what I heard, they were saying that there was like a really big surprise of who ended up taking it, or there was
Or
a big surprise as to
or
how it
somebody
ended.
ends up taking it, but after the time limit, so it doesn't work.
Well, I'm fucking excited to see
I don't
last
know. I'm
night.
excited. I like that I don't know.
I'm
So
dying. No, it's fun to go into stuff like this. The only time it's not fun is like right when you see to be continued and your heart gets ripped out of your chest because you're like, fuck, I just want to know.
well, let me tell you, you're listening to this episode that drops January 18th. That's my birthday. So you get a new episode of Wicked Unscripted for my birthday. You get a Traitors episode for my birthday. And then we're going to be able to go live post episode for Traitors, which is new. This is new to the season and I'm really really excited about that. So I'm excited that I don't know and I'm excited that I have less than 24 hours to find out.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Also, happy early birthday,
Thank you.
Gwen. I'm not going to embarrass you on here and sing happy birthday.
Oh God, please don't.
Yet. Happy birthday.
No.
She's like, please shut the fuck
No.
up.
I will mute your shit.
She's like, I will end this podcast episode. So
Look, I can mute you. See, bitch, I just muted you. I have the power.
When I'm not saying anything, I got the power. We should have that when we can finally get our soundboard together. We need to have that as a button. I got the power.
But yeah, I'm loving this season. I like that. Like I said at the top of the episode, I'm excited for the changes. I'm excited that it's not a binging show. I like how it's playing out. I love how it's playing out. So
it's not that it's bad to binge in general. I think I want to be clear on that. If anybody decides to go binge it,
it's very hard to cover a binge.
Yeah, for us, we're like last season, I was like, there's 12 episodes. The fuck do I make for content? How do I do this?
Yeah.
How? Especially because people are watching it at their own. Some people finished before I woke up that morning, and other people are like, I'm not watching it till next week. And I'm like, I don't know how to make content for that. How do we do this?
Yeah.
So this has been fun. I'm curious to know if we're gonna have a traitor win this season. I kind of wonder if we have a cast, if we have a little bit of, if we have enough people that might actually be able to have some faithful wins. So we'll see. But I think it's pretty hard for a faithful to win this game. To be very honest, I feel like as much as they make it seem like it's so hard for a traitor when it's like, yeah, I think it's actually fairly easy as long as you play your cards right. But not easy, but it can be done. And yeah, anyways, any final thoughts? Birthday girl.
I'm loving it.
And people are gonna be listening to this on your birthday. So like we're talking like it's tomorrow, but it's actually your birthday. We're in the past. But anyways,
I'm telling you, I gotta go to work. It's the first time I'm gonna be in the office this week because of the snow and the weather and everything. So I have to not only put a bra on, but then I have to go to the office on my birthday. It's gonna be a very busy work day. So by the time I get home for Traitors, like I'm gonna be so thirsty for some relaxation, Traitors, fun, TikTok live party. I'm
so
desperate for it.
Yeah, we're both. I gotta get back on my TikTok live shit. That's for sure. I've been watching your lives, and I'm like, God damn, I need to fix my shit. All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of Wicked Unscripted. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. I was almost gonna read that sentence again. Jesus Christ.
We just gonna like dust us off a little bit. We're a little musty dusty.
We just mentioned our TikToks. You can find us on there. I am at It's Abigail Adams. That's also where I am on Twitter. For Sarah's, hers is Sarah Talks Big Brother. And then Wicked Unscripted also has a page. We will be getting, as we say all the time, better at posting. We are getting slowly better and better. We'll keep improving. That is under Wicked Unscripted. If you want to follow all of our latest updates, make sure you check us out there. And Sarah is on Twitter as well at it's S Super Sarah, right?
Yeah, but you can just search Sarah Talks Big Brother and I come up.
Good. Well, I didn't want to say that in case like I confused people and they're like, I can't find her. Where is she?
And on Twitch.
Oh yes, and on Twitch. So you can find, I'm actually on there too. I just have not been twitching, but I probably should. So find us all on those great places. And we also have a Patreon, which we are going to be getting back into in a little bit. So if you want to check us out there, you check us out at Wicked Unscripted too. I believe our content is still free at the moment.
No, it wouldn't let me do it.
Oh.
I just told people they could unsubscribe right now if they don't want to, because we're in our off season. We do have some wonderful, beautiful human beings that stay subscribed just to continue their support in the off season, and I greatly appreciate that. So is Abigail.
So we'll get back on that eventually then.
Yeah.
We are working on stuff. We don't have dates set, but we just, that's Patreon gonna Patreon.
Yeah.
We are two adult women with messy lives. Oh, we live for this shit. Anyways, if you want to ask us a question, share your thoughts, or leave us a tip, email the podcast at wickedunscriptedpod@gmail.com for more. It's on that little banner if you are watching, but if you are listening, that is Wicked Unscripted Pod, pod@gmail.com for more. We're always looking for fresh and diverse voices to join the conversation. And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.